Folks, welcome into That Betting Show, February 5th, 2019. We're not live in Hocko Beach anymore, Teddy. He's Teddy Sivransky. I'm Donnie Seymour. Give him a follow at Teddy_covers. And give me a follow if you wish at Rightside VP. We'll get right into it here, Teddy. Super Bowl fallout, Super Bowl hangover, Super Bowl fatigue. One of the interesting things right off the bat we like to talk about is ratings, and more ratings. The Super Bowl always gets ratings. But, Teddy, a little bit of dip in the ratings this year. Are we getting a little Patriots fatigue out there?
I think so. I mean, you could say it's a little bit from column A and a little bit from column B. Some of it, I think, is Patriots fatigue. Some of it is that the Rams don't have a full fan base. And some of it is that it wasn't the most entertaining game for the casual audience. So you put those three factors together and you have the lowest Super Bowl ratings in the last 10 years. Somehow, I think next year, the Patriots don't get the call in the AFC Championship game. Obviously, ratings, not what the NFL were hoping for. All the words about plummets, though. I mean, plummets? Really? It was down a little bit. Still a Super Bowl rating that saw more than 100 million people in the U.S. watching. So even down ratings, everyone still watched the Super Bowl.
Yep, Super Bowl bonuses, Teddy, probably still coming along here to those NFL executives and also like CBS executives. So I wouldn't worry too much about them. But there was a little bit of a hangover in one city out there, Teddy. Most people get hungover in the city, but this one was a Super Bowl hangover in New Orleans. Almost half the people, Teddy. Again, New Orleans didn't play in the Super Bowl last year, and obviously, due to a controversial call, didn't play it again this year. But almost half the people who watched it last year, Teddy, didn't watch it this year. Painful still for those people down in New Orleans.
Yeah, well, I mean, unfortunately for New Orleans and moving forward, I mean, this is not a major media market. And, right now, the New Orleans is a team with two sports franchises. I don't know how much longer the Pelicans are going to last there. So you guys better love your Saints. It might be all you have. 5 years from now. The market's not big enough for the NFL to care about it.
Yeah, no, and we'll keep it moving here. Teddy, plays that decided the Super Bowl, since we didn't get a chance to on Monday. And if you guys are watching right now here, we don't have what we call the TriCaster out, so we're doing this on Google Hangouts. The reason being, Teddy, I think you understand this, is there was so much information and energy in Hocko Beach that it burned out. So we have to come to you live from Google Hangouts at this point. But taking a look at the game itself, Teddy, there wasn't a lot of scoring, obviously, with a 13-3 final, but there were some key plays that we all took a look at that say, boy, if this would have happened, something might have changed. And I think no bigger than, Teddy, the wide open play to Brandon Cooks over the middle, which Jared Goff saw late, floated it, and a defensive back was able to come over and make a play on that one. It was 3-0 at the time. I know they ended up tying it at 3-3 on that, but a 7-3 lead might have changed the atmosphere of that football game for the Los Angeles Rams. Huge play nonetheless, Teddy, but there was a couple big plays in this one as well.
Well, I mean, certainly the two passes where Cooks would have been open for a touchdown had Goff been able to get the ball into his hands. The second one in the fourth quarter down 7. Remember, the play after that was, I'm not going to call it the game-sealing interception because it was still 7 minutes at that point, but it felt like the Rams were in big, big trouble after the second pick, or after the second time Cooks was open for a TD and Goff couldn't get him the football in the right way. But at the same time, you talk about key plays and key catches. Who made the plays? Cooks didn't. Gronk did. Gronk had 2 key catches on the touchdown scoring drive. And then Sony Michel with the 2-yard touchdown run for the only TD of the game. That means he scored the first touchdown. That means he scored the last touchdown. And that means the over 1.5 for the longest TD of the game. Thanks, Michelle. You couldn't get stopped at the 1-yard line and just punch it in from there. But the whole point is that New England was never pressured. They never had to get out of their game plan because they never trailed. So there was no pressure on Brady. There was no pressure on them to adjust offensively. The defense got the job done. Had LA taken that early 7-3 lead, a completely different ballgame, because now New England's got to do something. Patriots front seven was dominant. And, you talk about who won the MVP. Edelman won the MVP. I'd give it to the Patriots front seven. They were pretty strong in that ballgame against what had been a really good offensive line and a quarterback that hadn't looked like a lost rookie for most of the season like he did.
Yeah, it was really interesting, Teddy, when we talk about like the coaching, inadequacies in this game. I like to say from the Rams' perspective, maybe not getting Gurley involved enough. We even had a couple of interviews at the half then down at the Betcast, and we're saying it's a 3-0 game because we've seen it a lot in betting circles there where you figured the Patriots should have been up more than 3 points, so that was going to be a positive for the Rams. But they asked, like, hey, Donnie, sitting on a 2.5 ticket, which I was, it's halftime, knowing what it's 3-0. Would you bet the Rams in the second half? And to be honest, Teddy, I was like, even though I thought the Rams possibly could come back, I was having that feeling saying, you know what? They haven't shown me anything. And then we saw the one play. It's 3-3. The Rams get the football in the fourth quarter. They're driving. And you want to say phantom call, mishold call, but the call happened there. It was going to be a first down. They were going to move into Patriots territory after Todd Gurley had that play. And then you had 3 straight bad plays and a punt, and then you saw that Gronk the Gronk wheel route to start the drive, and it ended with, obviously, the deep pass to Gronkowski, which was a dime right down the field by Tom Brady. No surprise, been making those throws all his career, to the Sony Michel touchdown. When watching this game, Teddy, I know, like, just from a different perspective there, did you ever feel the Rams really had a shot in this one? Because it just felt to me like whatever the Rams got in the way of offense, it seemed like it was just hard to get the entire way.
I thought they had a shot because it wasn't like the Patriots were marching up and down the field. Wade Phillips' game plan was tremendous on Sunday. It really was. And you're talking about a Patriots team that got shut down. You don't win Super Bowls when you don't score 14 points. As long as your offense does something, But the calls, again, and every one of them went against the Rams. And controversy or not, you had a controversial call 3 minutes into the game. You're like, what are the refs doing? Really? You guys didn't learn your lesson? You had the complete phantom call on the only good drive that the Rams had all day prior to the interception when Gurley got Gurley's long run got called back on a holding. And then, of course, you had Goff going out of bounds and no flag on the New England defenders. If Brady would have been going out of bounds there'd have been 8 flags and that drive would have been extended. So the refs just can't get themselves out of controversy. And again, New England got all the calls, all the meaningful calls in a game where, there was 3-1 penalties. Rams had 3 times more penalties than the Patriots.
Yeah, it was as we were doing the show live, last year 41-33, I'm an Eagles fan. Of course I'm going to enjoy the game as is, but you got to jump up and down, Teddy. You got to get excited, especially if you were cheering for your ticket. I feel bad for the people who were sitting on over tickets because it was pretty apparent right away that wasn't going to be coming anywhere near close. And the one thing that was interesting that we kept looking at, Teddy, was the actual live in-game numbers where it was like, all right, it's 45.5, it's 40.5, it's 35. Teddy, it got down to 14 points. I don't know if I've ever seen that in an NFL game. Crazy.
It doesn't happen often, but it does happen in a game where the defense is dominating. And again, we've never seen this is the lowest scoring Super Bowl in history. Obviously, the late field goal from Greg the Leg, no good, which means even if you were playing squares, there was nothing to cheer about. It was all 0s and 3s every quarter for the entire game. So it didn't matter how you were betting it. The only guys cheering were under bettors for this one. If you had a Rams ticket in your pocket, there was nothing. I mean, there wasn't one play, except for Brady's interception early in the game.
Yes.
That's the loudest cheer of the day for Rams backers. That was it. You can understand why the ratings were down. It wasn't a particularly exciting game. The commercials weren't, the best commercial was the NFL commercial. The commercials didn't blow you away. And it's a team that everyone's seen in the Super Bowl many, many times before. So, the league pulled out all the stops to get these 2 teams in the Super Bowl. And then they got them there and the ratings were down. So, maybe hopefully lesson learned for the NFL. People want to see the best teams. They want to see the exciting players, not necessarily the players they've seen 100 times before or the biggest media markets.
Which I would like to say, Teddy, thank you to bookmakers who still keep the games interesting. Why? Because of props, and more props. No matter what the score of the game was, we were watching a multitude of things that happening. The highest juice wager, Teddy, that I lost on, which I thought would have a really good shot on, paid a minus 370 price to get a 4th down conversion. Had a couple shots at 4th and 1, 4th and 2. Patriots actually went for it on a 4th and 2, did not get it. At the end of the football game, 4th and inches, Teddy. I was cheering even though I had a Rams ticket, which was probably going to lose, for a quarterback sneak by Tom Brady. Did not get that there. The one other interesting one, which came down late for me, Teddy, is I had both teams to kick a field goal, which that actually cashed at 3-3. But then late in the game, the Patriots get a field goal. The Rams coming down the field because I had both teams to kick over 1.5 field goals. The Zerline miss hurt me. How about some prop bets out there that you cashed in or took a look at that made a difference in that Super Bowl game?
Oh my gosh, there were a lot
hundreds.
Of them, put it that way. Let me just open up some stuff over here. But certainly the shortest touchdown of the game, I had under 1.5 yards.
Gronk couldn't have fell down at the 1 for you, Teddy? I mean, why did he fall down at the 2-yard line for you there?
Yeah. The difference between Gronk being marked down to the 2 and marked down to the 1 was significant.
Yep.
That was minus 150 I laid there. I had no score the first 5.5 minutes, 6
Nice.
minutes, 6.5 minutes. That was all good.
Yep.
The second half being the higher scoring half, that really wasn't much of a sweat when it was 3-0 at halftime. And as soon as the Rams kicked that field goal, you can't lose anymore.
Yeah, we joked about that at the Betcast. I was like, wow, imagine that, getting 3 points in the second half, going, oh, I can't lose now. It's great.
Well, you couldn't lose on a tie. You could lose if the score finished 3-2.
Yeah, correct.
Or 3-0.
I meant when it got 3-3, it was like, hey, man, we got a good one here.
I had Aaron Donald and Jared Goff for MVP. Those two didn't work out real well.
Yeah.
Well, the one that really frustrated me, I really thought we were going to get in a situation, if there'd have been some scoring, that we get a 2-point conversion.
Yes.
Well, either team attempted to avoid conversion. I had the yes. That was no good. I had the shortest touchdown under, no good. First turnover of the game, that was good. The pick early on, there was no sweat there. I had first turnover of the game and interception, though I also had over 2.5 players to get a pass attempt. Only 2 here. Edelman, however, did get his rushing attempt, actually multiple. The Patriots in general went with over 7.5 guys to get a rushing attempt. New England ran everybody. Or was it 7? No, it's 5.5. But there were ample guys for New England to get rushing attempts. Edelman, Patterson, obviously, getting their opportunities, as well as the Patriots' backs and their quarterback.
Yeah, I saw another one too, Teddy, that looks like it didn't come in there. The Tom Brady rushing yards, I believe it was like over 1.5 or over 2.5 at some different spots. Obviously didn't run the ball at all, and then you take some knees at the end of the first half and at the end of the football game, which changed that up. Also was able to cash in on a game tied after the first score was -130. Obviously they kicked the field goal to make it 3-3. The one I was hoping for also, Teddy, since it was going to be a closer game, which is what I thought, was the lead change in the fourth quarter was +200, and obviously you change into a 3-3 game, you might have a good shot at that, at a touchdown coming the other way, or maybe a field goal and a touchdown. That one didn't work out for me as well, but a multitude of stuff. That's the one thing that keeps it going and keeps it fun with all these prop bets, as opposed to if you just sat on the Rams ticket or an over ticket, you could certainly cheer some stuff on. That betting show, people, February 5th, 2019, your one-stop shop for all your sports betting needs. That puts a bow on the Super Bowl. Any quick, little quips about the offseason? Because now that we put it to bed, no more football. We move forward to some different outlets out there. The NBA, the NHL, college basketball, baseball's up there. Put a nice little bow on the Super Bowl for us, Teddy.
Well, look, there's people talking about future book odds right now. I was asked on a couple of shows yesterday, who do you like in the future book next year? This is what I like in the future book next year. Stick your money in your pocket right now and keep it there till at least the start of free agency, at a minimum, because we don't know what these teams are going to look like right now. So look at the markets. Future book odds tend to be poor wagers to begin with. And when you're talking about locking up your money for the next year, you better be darn sure you're getting a number that's not going to be there a month from now, 2 months from now, 3 months from now. And guess what? All those numbers are still going to be there come April, come draft-wise, et cetera, et cetera. Now, the draft will move the numbers, and a big free agent signing will move the numbers. But now, no urgency whatsoever to get involved in next year's NFL or college football betting marketplace. You'll have chances, plenty of chances before the season starts. Now's not the time to do it.
Yep, feels like we just kicked off Atlanta and the Philadelphia Eagles to start the the football season. Now it's at an end. Free agency coming up. A lot of interesting stuff to keep your eye on here at sportsbookreview.com. Overnight line movers, Teddy. We are a betting show. And just because the Super Bowl and football is done here and we appear on the show, things are happening overnight, as we like to say. The money never sleeps. Knicks Pistons total on the move. Opened up some offshore markets there, Teddy, at 205. Now we're seeing some 207s here, early morning action. If we take a look at the lines itself, Pistons versus the Knicks. Knicks favored by 4, 207 total. Excuse me, the Knicks are not favored by 4. The Knicks are getting 4 points here. Money line split -190, +165. Any thoughts on this one, Teddy, on what these market movements would be? Looking for some scoring here.
Yeah, there aren't many teams the Knicks are going to be favored again. Yeah. I mean, maybe a home game against Phoenix or Cleveland. That's about it when it comes to the New York Knickerbockers as chalk right now. Money coming on the over. I'm not surprised at this at all. The Pistons flew over the total yesterday against the Nuggets. A really strong offensive game plan. They pushed the pace a little bit in that contest, and it's a Knicks team that really isn't playing much defense. So I'm not shocked at all. See early money on the over in this one.
Teddy, I want to get your thoughts on this because, we can't get enough coverage right now. Is Anthony Davis going to the Lakers? What are they going to offer up? It could happen at any moment. It can maybe happen this summer. The betting market's going to evaluate these, and we see some line movements here between 2.5, 3.5, back to 2.5, back to 3 in the Lakers game. Is there any value? And again, we made a joke here looking at the Manny Machado, Bryce Harper. You're going to jump that line or not jump it when he gets to a team to try to find that longevity and win totals. But we're talking a little bit shorter term here. do some people actually take a look at this and say, you know what, sooner or later we think he's going to get traded, and it might happen today where maybe you can get a bonus where 4 to 5 players are being traded away and the other team's going to have the advantage there? Is there any, reasoning for this movement in that way, or even your thoughts on if that can even take place, or does it take place?
Well, I mean, we had a situation a couple of days ago where the Mavericks traded their, the 3/5 of their starting lineup and sat the other 2 guys and went to Detroit, and the line moved from 2.5 to 7.5, which I thought was short. And, the Pistons were like, oh, we're not worried about these guys. And they won by 4. So oftentimes you'll see the favorite let down when the opponent comes in with a mismatched roster. And, it's happened many, many times. I thought it happened with Golden State a little bit against the Lakers the other night. Well, LeBron's not playing, and the Warriors came out flat. And they were flat for 3 quarters until they went on that big run in the 4th. So, here's a situation where not only we don't know about LeBron's status and he's in and out of the lineup, it's clear that all the rumors and all the trade talk swirling around LA is affecting a member. It's a young team outside of the handful of veterans. Brandon Ingram, who's been mentioned in every trade rumor, he's like, we don't discuss it. Whatever happens, happens. We can only control what we can control. They can't control it. And it's certainly something that has an impact on how LA is playing right now. It's a big concern for me when you talk about the Lakers in Indiana tonight laying points, even though the Pacers on the second of back-to-backs after a hard-fought win in New Orleans last night.
College basketball action, Teddy. Battle of Kansas tonight here. Getting some line movement. And normally, if you're the average bettor looking at this, say, wait a second. Kansas going in the opposite direction to Kansas State. Should be an interesting one. More offshore markets, Teddy, opened up at -1. Now we're seeing right now live -3s for Kansas State here at home. Kansas just 1-5 straight up on the highway. Kansas State 0-8 straight up versus Kansas. 70-63. 70-63 in 2005 on this very floor, which is the Octagon of Doom. Some good line movement here, Teddy, for us.
Yeah, and it's been nothing, as you mentioned, nothing but wise guy money on K-State. The leading indicator books are telling me this line could even go higher after all this K-State money. And look, make no mistake about it, Kansas has not been a good team on the highway. They have 5 losses this year, all 5 of them away from home, just 1-5 straight up on the road. And, of course, the K-State team that's played their best basketball of late. And they haven't beaten Kansas since 2015, 0-8 straight up their last 8 tries against the Jayhawks. 2015, they beat them by 7 on this floor. The market's expecting more of the same. And, well, less of the same, more like that 2015 meeting when you talk about the money pouring in on the Wildcats today. Is as big a line move as we've had in any basketball game this evening.
How about this, Teddy? As we were punching up the script here a little bit earlier in the morning, we probably should have had this on some line movers here. Watch what you bet segment here. Philadelphia and the Raptors. -4.5 were prevalent across the board. Kyle Lowry now activated to active and probable tonight. Now seeing 2.5s showing their head. Total 228 money line split -190 +165. TNT game at the Wells Fargo Center. Eastern Conference tilt. Some nice line movement here to look at, Teddy.
Yeah, I frankly, I was more interested in the Raptors without Lowry tonight than with him. Yeah. Fred VanVleet's played great. He played well against Lowry's place against the Clippers. They're 8-4 without him this season, 11-3 without Kawhi Leonard this season, which speaks about the depth of this Raptors squad. Nick Nurse, quote, "I've coached a lot of teams either in Europe or in the minor leagues where pieces move. I've become quite used to coaching what I've been given on the day or week or the month. That's just kind of how I look at it." That's a bet on quote for Toronto when they're banged up, when they're not 100%, when the markets are overreacting. That's not the case tonight for this Raptors team. And I know Toronto 16-11 on the highway this season. They've been winning games in hostile environments all year. But, we got Philly coming off a loss at Sacramento. They didn't play well. J.J. Redick didn't show up in that game, sat in that game. Wilson Chandler, he's going to be out tonight again as well. But in general, Philly off a loss is something I'm interested in. Philly at home, 21-5 straight up on this floor is something I'm interested in. And whatever value you would have had from Toronto without Lowry, where they're playing just as well without him as they are with him, that's been lost now. Money's coming to the Raptors. Philly or pass for this better.
Should be interesting there. Kansas heads to the Octagon of Doom for this Big 12 battle here. Teddy just talked about a few moments on our segment of line movers. The one thing that we do like to keep an eye on here, Teddy, is when you think of Kansas, like, ooh, dominant in the Big 12. We understand that. But, times change, and you just can't go with what usually got you there. And if we're taking a look at Kansas away from Fog Allen, Teddy, money burner alert, 0-5-1 against the spread. And the Jayhawks as an underdog this year, 0-3 against the spread. So certainly not putting you in a great spot or situation in this one. Kansas State at home getting the money here. What are we looking at for this tilt?
Well, I mean, the Wildcats haven't lost a Big 12 game since Dean Wade came back from his foot injury. That was early January. Remember, they had some early season struggles. Their star player was hurt, and they didn't play well. I'll just leave it at that. That was then. This is now. Now, obviously, K-State did lose a game, really poorly played game at Texas A&M in College Station in that SEC Big 12 Challenge. Oh, that was a TV game as well, which may help show why this line was where it was at the open compared to where it is now. But with the exception of that loss to the Aggies, they've been every bit as good, if not better, than Kansas for the last month. They really have. You talk about the Jayhawks struggles on the highway. You talk about the revenge factor for Kansas State, where, again, a team they haven't beaten, an in-state rival they haven't beaten since 2015. It's for sure a circle the wagon squad. But I'll say this much, talking about a big line move already, and from a pure talent standpoint, you got the better team catching points. I know betting against Kansas has been a real moneymaker away from home all year long, but note the fact that sometimes in February, teams start to grow up a little bit, especially when they face their in-state rivals in a series they've dominated. I wouldn't sell the Jayhawks short tonight. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, two good games we had picked out there, Teddy. Segment number 4 here, off the mic, and you take the deep breath. Football season is over, Teddy, but life still moves on out here. There are games to bet. There's games to cap. There's value across the card, and we shift our focus there to the Final Four and March Madness. And let's not forget, Teddy, you won the bet. If you guys have been tuning into that betting show over the past 2.5 weeks, Teddy called it out there, people. Manny Machado, what team is he on? Nobody. Bryce Harper, hey, look, all these interesting tweets. What team is he on, Teddy? He's nowhere to be found right now. So you have some things to look forward to, Teddy. Here's what I want you to do for a minute or two. Talk these people through. Football is done. What are we looking forward to? Is there still life out there in those gamblers?
You're kidding, right? I mean, the football ends. Yeah, football ends with Super Bowl. There's that new football league, too, that I wanted to look at this year. What the heck's it called?
What do you got?
Alliance of American Football.
Yep. There you go.
I suppose we'll see how it works out. I've got a contact who offered to send me some info. I'm going to see if it's any good. I'm looking forward to seeing it. I'm looking forward to seeing some of these lines. So, yes, there is still football, but the truth is, as soon as Super Bowl ends, calendar turns to March Madness. You know what I mean? Tick, tick, tick. March Madness is just, 3 weeks away, 3.5 weeks away till March, and we have all the conference tournaments and then the big dance itself. It's basketball time now. And after March Madness, you're like, that's when I exhale, the beginning of baseball season, because you're burnt. The busy season goes from the beginning of August to the end of March Madness. And you take a little breather at the beginning of baseball. I don't go nuts in April baseball, but then of course you got NBA playoffs and you have baseball races heating up. So of course there's a ton to bet on. There's a ton to talk about. And just because football season's over, it doesn't mean you should stop watching that betting show. We're going to give you information that will help you every single weekday right here at SBRpicks.com.
That was just a wonderful segue there. Your one-stop shop for all your sports betting needs. Teddy covered it right there. Thanks for tuning in February 5th, 2019. We'll see how the games go tonight and see if you cash some tickets. But we'll be right back again tomorrow here on That Betting Show at sportsbookview.com. He's Teddy Savransky. I'm Donnie Seymour. Have a great day, and we'll catch you tomorrow.